Okay, today we're going to look at how we can connect tables to graphs. So, we first have to build our table, and then we'll graph our information. You are going to see some new words today, like the word process. The process might be considered a rule that you would follow. Many times this rule is either going to be a multiply by, or if you look at it backwards, it could be a divide by because they're inverse operations. In this particular table, it's telling us that we have football players that are going to be eating pizza. In my table, it tells me the number of pizzas that I'm going to purchase and how many players the pizza will feed. So if I purchase one pizza, 4 players will be able to eat pizza. If I purchase 2 pizzas, 8 players will be fed. If I purchase 3 pizzas, 12 players can be fed. If I purchase 4 pizzas, then of course, yes, 16 players can be fed. Oh, but wait a minute. I want to order 7 pizza. So what am I doing to 7 to get to how many players can be fed? Well, let's look at what happened in this process. What were we doing to 1 to get to 4? If we look at 1 pizza and multiply by 4, we get 4 players. Because every 1 pizza can feed 4 players. 2 pizzas times 4 is 8 players. 3 pizzas times 4 is 12 players. So in other words, my base ratio is 1 pizza to 4 players. That's my rate. 4 players per 1 pizza. So if I continue to build my table, my rule or my process is times 4. So if I order my 7 pizza, how many players can be fed? You're right, 28. I notice down here now I have an X. My X is representing the number of pizza, but I need a letter for the number of players. And because we're going to end up graphing this, we're going to use the letter Y. So here's your question. What am I doing to X to equal Y? In other words, what is my rule? My rule is times 4. So let's circle that and identify that as our rule. X times 4 equals Y. So let's come over and graph the same data. This is my number of pizzas. Always pay attention to your labels. And this is my number of players. I need to label this graph with X and Y. My X and my Y are my ordered pair in order to plot a point. A single point. Now go back and remember what you did in 4th and 5th grade. My Y comes down, and I always think of my tail of my Y goes down, and my X comes across, so we're going to label this X. In other words, my X and my Y, just a little memory clue up here. Run, jump. You might have heard crawl before you stand up and walk. You might have heard, let's go into the elevator, walk into the elevator, and then the elevator will go up. Same thing. Whatever memory clue you have to know your X and your Y, please use it. I use run and jump. So we're going to plot pizza. Here is my pizza. If I purchase 1 pizza, how many players can it feed? It's 4, so I connect the 1 and the 4. I do not draw lines, I just plot a point where they meet. If I order 2 pizzas, how many players? And that would be 8, and plot my point. 3 pizzas, how many players? 4 pizzas, how many players? Oh, wait a minute. Did we talk about 5 or 6 pizza? Not in my table, because right here I jumped to 7, but could I still figure that out? Well, of course, because it's a process, or it's a rule of multiply by 4. So if I purchase 5 pizzas, 5 times 4 would be 20, and I would plot. I'm going to jump over here to my 7, and we said that 7 was 28, so I'm going to come up here and find 28. Remember, it's a run and jump. I want you to notice that in this graph, that if I take a straight edge, I could connect all these dots. So I'm going to pull over a straight edge, line it up, and I'm going to be able to connect my dots. If my table is correct, all of my points should be in a line and connect. That means they're all proportional to one another. They follow the same rule. So if I were missing like 6 pizzas, I could jump up, and where it is on that line would tell me the answer of 24, because it would follow the same rule. So this is all about building a table and then taking our information out of our table and building a graph. With this information, we can answer a whole bunch of questions like we're going to in class about pizzas and players, and how many players get to eat if I order a number of pizzas. So we're going to finish this up in class.